I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations or practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Sanje Joda Zoge Jonam La Janjo Bardo Dane Gyapso Che Dage Jinso Kebe Sonam Yoda Benjir Sanje Dubare Sho Sanje Joda Soge Chonam Janjo Bardo Dane Gyapso Che Dage Jinso Kebe Sonam Yoda Benjir Sanje Dubare Sho Sanje Joda Soge Chonam Chanjo Bardo Dane Gyapso Che Dage Jinso Kebe Sonam Tola Benjire Sanje Rubare Sho Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Tesham Dathagato Yavatat Esham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vati Mahashramanaye Svaha Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Esham Dathagato Yavatat Desham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vati Mahashramanaye Svaha Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Tejam Dathagato Yavatat Desham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vati Mahashramanaye Svaha Om Ye Dharma Hetum Tesham Dathagato Yavatat Desham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vati Mahashramanaye Svaha. All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation as well as taught by the great seer. Okay, we will read the In Praise of Dependent Origination by Lama Tsongkhapa. Which page is that? In Praise of Dependent Origination. 104. Okay, 104. This is the composition by the same author and the enlightened Master Lama Tsongkhapa. And I'm going to give a quick background of this composition. This is on emptiness and dependent origination. And Lama Tsongkhapa, after all these many years of studies, reflection, meditation, and giving teachings to his students, when he became really very popular everywhere, and so many people benefited. At one point, he just started to wonder whether the experience of emptiness that he had that tallies with the precise understanding, precisely the emptiness as taught by the Prasangika. So this was a question that came to him. He wanted to evaluate whether this is the actual understanding of emptiness according to Prasangika. Then there was one teacher by the name Lama Umapa, and two of them, they were like mutual teachers. They teach, they receive teachings from each other. And Lama Umapa, at that point, he used to have the communion with Arya Manjushri, the Buddha of wisdom. Ramajeshwari, he used to have direct, he would just meet like, the person to person. And but Lama Tsongkhapa at that point, he did not have this, could not have the vision with Ramajeshwari. So he sent a message to Ramajeshwari through Lama Umapa. And the message, the question is simple, that whether or not his understanding of emptiness is the exact understanding of emptiness of the Prasangika. Then the response came that it is not, but if he strives in three things, then he would soon unravel the understanding of the meaning of emptiness very soon. And the 3 points indicated was, the first one, that he should make a fervent prayers to his guru, inseparable with the deity, the Buddha deity, number one. Number two, that he has to go through, they say, the extensive purification process. Making prostrations, mantle offerings, so forth. Meanwhile, number three, they go for extensive studies of the authentic books by the Indian masters on emptiness. So with these three advice given, then the Lama Tsongkhapa, he left for the retreat, and the retreat, personal retreat, with I think about like 8 students. And then after about like 11 months of sitting for retreat, then fulfilling these 3 things which Ramajeshwari advised, and of course to look at he was extremely famous, and still the amount of the hardship, the resilience, the hardship that he went through, was that the mandala offering, for example, nowadays we have very nice mandala set, but he did not have that facility for the mandala set. Although very famous teacher all over Tibet, still he did not have that facility, so he offered the mandala on a stone slab, and with his very tender the hand rubbing the stone like so many times, and even the blood came out, the sore happened here, and this was the amount of the hardship that he went through. And although he was already extremely respected teacher, he's a renowned enlightened being, but this is how he went through. So therefore the point is that we need to have some sense of patience, resilience in pursuit of this path of attaining fearlessness, infinite happiness, extensive satisfaction, emptiness, bodhicitta, and so forth. And we should not always go for the easy path. Okay. So after 11 months of this very serious, strenuous practice, we study the texts of the Indian masters, and they saying the firm prayers to the Guru, inseparable one with the deity, Buddha deity, and with the purification process. Then suddenly, one night he had a dream of all the Indian masters, Nalanda masters, who are related to the emptiness, Prasangika philosophy, including Aranyaka and so forth. And then in the dream, he dreamed of one, the well-built Indian master with a little bit of what the dark-colored, but the scholar and the master, and who stood up, who was one of the scholars around Aranyaka. And he stood up and came to Lama Tsongkhapa in the dream. And then he handed over one textbook to Lama Tsongkhapa. This was what Lama Tsongkhapa dreamt. And the next morning, just some visitors came, and then offered him a text, a book on emptiness. And he read it. It was actually the same book composed by the master and the Buddha Palita, the master Buddha Palita, and that the great master who appeared in a dream to give the book, he happened to be Buddha Palita. He's a great master who wrote a commentary on Arya-Nagarjuna's text, Buddha Palita. And the next day, somebody brought a Buddha Palita book to Lama Tsongkhapa, and Lama flipped through the pages, and suddenly he realized emptiness in its pure form. So then he composed this text in praise of dependent origination. So what we are reading, this is extremely important, the text which he composed only after him actually having realized the wisdom of emptiness. Okay, in this connection, I also like to share with you that that when I've completed the first 7 years of studies in IBD, and then I was to join the emptiness class on the middle way view. And I happened to be in South India, in Drepung, to receive teachings from one of my teachers, the Venerable Geshe Dorji. And it so happened that there was one great teacher from another monastery. And this teacher happened to be, later on, there are so many things connected. And he happened to be, a great teacher, highly knowledgeable, learned scholar. And plus, he spent many years in solitary retreat in Bhutan, in solitude, just meditating. Somehow, he was renowned to have reached the path of preparation. Gade, Virusada mantra, Gade, Para, Samade, Bodhisattva, the 5 paths. Gade, Para, Samade, Bodhisattva. Path of accumulation, path of preparation, path of seeing, path of meditation, path of normal learning. 5. This teacher was renowned to have reached the second path, path of preparation. We never know. He could have reached even higher, we never know. But it was renowned in the common public that he reached that level, the path of preparation. In Tibetan, Jorlam. And he is referred as the Bodhisattva, Jorlam Bodhisattva of the path of preparation. So this was the renowned name. He somehow, people started to refer to him with this label, Bodhisattva on the path of preparation. So everybody was going to seek blessings from him, and it so happened that I finished my first 7 years of studies, and next moving to the Madhyamika or the middle way philosophy, and as auspicious education also went there. And then for him it is not like one-on-one, because there are so many people waiting to have his blessings, and he also needed his own personal practice, time for practice and practice. So it was just like huge group all the time, huge group, another huge group, another huge group, and he will then meeting, he will ask, okay, what do you have to say, what do you have to say? He would ask everybody. And it was my turn. He said, what do you have to say? Then I said that I finished the study of the first 7 years study of the perfection, the 6 perfections. Now for me is to study the Madhyamika, because if the Rinpoche can give me any advice to clear the obstacles to study the emptiness. Because study emptiness, it is said that there are a lot of obstacles. Then he said, recite in praise of dependent origination every day. And I thought that because of the blind faith, as a young boy, blind faith, maybe this is some kind of puja. If I do it every day, then my obstacles will be cleared. Actually, it's very common sense. It's all philosophy in praise of dependent origination. And I already learned the debate, logic, philosophy, the psychology. So reading it, the meanings will be reflected. If every day you do it, what happens? Naturally you will, it'll become very easy for you. Then now when I think back in time, he was very smart, right? So the puja that he gave me to do is, he did not say that, okay, they ask some other monks to do this puja for you. No, he said, do this recitation every day. And now I see that, wow, that's amazing. You just study this, you look at it, study this, and if possible, you read it every day, but reflect on meanings, you see that you're growing, day by day you're growing. Your experience of emptiness will be, become clearer, 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 and the articulation. And of course, articulation by Lama Tsongkhapa, after his having, realized emptiness, and then composed this. So what more can we expect, better thing about emptiness than the source. Okay, so we are reading this together. In Praise of Dependent Origination by Lama Tsongkhapa. So as we read this, just see how much you can, Chanjubla, thank you so much. And as we read this, just see how much the words are uttered, number one, then meanings are reflected, out of the experience, I don't know, So if you have the experience of emptiness, for sure you will not come here. If you come here, it's for one purpose, right? Okay, so at least two things, if you have, that will be wonderful. And we never know. Nobody can judge another person. If you have experience, then invoke the experience as well. Three things. Okay. He who speaks on the basis of seeing, this makes him a knower and teacher unexcelled. I bow to you, O conqueror, you who saw dependent origination and taught it. So this conqueror is the Buddha. Let's read this again. He who speaks on the basis of seeing, this makes him a knower and teacher unexcelled. I bow to you, O conqueror, you who saw dependent origination and taught it. Whatever degenerations there are in the world, the root of all these is ignorance. You taught that it is dependent origination, the seeing of which will undo this ignorance. So how can an intelligent person not comprehend that this path of dependent origination is the essential point of your teaching? This being so, who will find, O Savior, a more wonderful way to praise you than to praise you for having taught this origination through dependence? Whatsoever it depends on conditions, that is devoid of intrinsic existence. What excellent instruction can there be more amazing than this proclamation? By grasping at it, the child is strengthened bondage to extreme views. For the wise, this very fact is the doorway to cut free from the net of elaborations. Since this teaching is not seen elsewhere, you alone are the teacher. Like calling a fox a lion for a Tripika, it would be a great word of flattery. Wondrous teacher, wondrous refuge, wondrous speaker, wondrous savior, I pay homage to that teacher who taught well dependent origination. To help heal sentient beings, O benefactor, you have taught the peerless reason to ascertain emptiness, heart of the teaching. This way of dependent origination, those who perceive it as contradictory or as unestablished, how can they comprehend your system? For you, when one sees emptiness in terms of the meaning of dependent origination, then being devoid of intrinsic existence and possessing valid function do not contradict. Whereas when one sees the opposite, since there can be no function in emptiness, no emptiness in what has function, one falls into the dreadful abyss you maintain. Therefore, in your teaching, seeing dependent origination is hailed, that too not as an utter non-existence, nor as an intrinsic existence. The non-contingent is like a sky flower, hence there is nothing that is not dependent. If things exist through their essence, their dependence on causes and conditions for their existence is a contradiction. Therefore, since no phenomena exists other than origination through dependence, no phenomena exists other than being devoid of intrinsic existence, you taught. Because intrinsic nature cannot be negated, if phenomena did possess some intrinsic nature, nirvana would become impossible, and elaborations could not be ceased, you taught. Therefore, who could challenge you, you who proclaim this with Lanzuro in the assembly of the learned ones repeatedly, that everything is utterly free of intrinsic nature, that there is no intrinsic existence at all, and that all functions as this arising in dependence on that, what need is there to say these two converge without conflict? It is through the reason of dependent origination that one does not lean towards the extreme, that you, the Savior, have declared this excellently is the source of your unexcelled speech. All of this is devoid of essence, and from this arises that effect. These two certainties complement each other with no contradiction at all. What is more amazing than this, what is more marvelous than this, if one praises you in this manner, this is real praise, otherwise not. Being enslaved by ignorance, those who fiercely oppose you, what is so astonishing about their being unable to bear the sound of no intrinsic existence? But having accepted dependent origination, the precious treasure of your speech, then not tolerating the roar of emptiness, this I find amazing indeed. The door that leads to no intrinsic existence, the non-external door of dependent origination, through its name alone, if one grasps the intrinsic existence, now this person who lacks the unraveled entrance, well traveled by the noble ones, by what means should one guide him to an excellent path that pleases you? Intrinsic nature, uncreated and non-contingent, dependent origination, contingent and created, how can these two converge upon a single basis without contradiction? Therefore, whatever originates through primordially free of intrinsic existence appears as if it does possess intrinsic existence. So you taught all this to be illusion-like. Through this very fact, I understand well a statement that in what you have taught, those opponents who challenge you cannot find faults that accord with reason. Why is this so? Because by declaring these, chances for reification and denigration towards things seen and unseen are made most remote. Through this very path of dependent origination, the rationale for your speech being peerless, conviction arises in me also that your other words are valid too. You who speak excellently by seeing as it is, for those who train in your footsteps, all degenerations will become remote, for the root of all faults will be undone. But those who turn away from your teaching, though they may struggle with a task for a long time, faults increase ever more as if being called forth. For they make firm the way of self. Aha! When the wise comprehend the differences between these two, why would revere you from the depths of their being? Let alone your numerous teachings, even in the meaning of a small part, those who find ascertainment in a cursory way, this brings supreme bliss in them as well. Alas, my mind was defeated by ignorance, though I sought refuge for a long time in such an embodiment of excellence. I possess not a fraction of his qualities. Nonetheless, before the stream of this life flowing towards death has come to cease, that I found slight faith in you, even this I think is fortunate. Among teachers, the teacher of dependent origination, amongst wisdom, the knowledge of dependent origination, you who are most excellent like the kings of the world, know this perfectly well, not others. All that you have taught proceeds by way of dependent origination, that too is done for the sake of nirvana. You have no deeds that do not bring peace. How amazing your teaching is such, in whomsoever's ears it falls, they all attain peace. So who would not be honored to uphold your teaching? It overcomes all opposing challenges. It is free from contradictions between earlier and later paths. It grants fulfillment of being's two aims. For this system, my joy increases evermore. For sake you have given away again and again over countless eons, sometimes your body, others your life, as well as your loving kin and resources of wealth. Seeing the qualities of this teaching pulls hard at your feet, just like what a hook does to a fish. Sad it is not to have heard it from you. Intensity of that sorrow does not let go of my mind, just like the mind of a mother constantly goes after her dear child. Here too, as I reflect on your words, I think, blazing with the glory of noble marks and hallowed in a net of light rays, this teacher, in a voice of pristine melody, spoke thus in such a way. The instant such a reflection of the sage's form appears in my mind, it soothes me, just as the moonbeam heals a fever pain. This excellent system, most marvelous, some individuals who are not so learned have entangled it in utter confusion, just like the tangled bulbazar grass. Seeing this situation, I strove with a multitude of efforts to follow after the learned ones and sought your intention again and again. At such times as I studied the numerous works of both our own middle way and other schools, my mind became tormented evermore, constantly by a network of doubts. The night lily grove of Nagarjuna's treatise says, Nagarjuna, whom you have prophesied, would unravel your unexcelled vehicle as it is, shining extremes of existence and non-existence. illuminated by the garland of the white lights of Chandra's well-uttered insights, Chandra, whose stainless wisdom orb is full, who glides freely across the scripture space, who dispels the darkness of extremist hearts and outshines the constellations of false speakers. When through my teacher's kindness I saw this, my mind found rest at last. Of all your deeds, your speech is supreme. Within that too, it is this very speech. So the wise should remember the Buddha through this teaching of dependent origination. For when such a teacher, and having become a renunciate, having studied the Conqueror's verse not so poorly, that this monk who strives in the yogic practices, such as the depth of his reference to the great seer. Since it is due to my teacher's kindness, I have met with the teaching of the unaccepted teacher, I dedicate this virtue too towards the cause for all beings to be sustained by the sublime spiritual mentors. May the teaching of the beneficent one till world's end be unshaken by the winds of evil thoughts. May it always be met by innumerable beings who find conviction in the teacher by understanding the teaching's true nature. May I never falter even for an instant to uphold the excellent way of the sage, which illuminates the principle of dependent origination through all my births, even giving away my body and life. May I spend day and night carefully reflecting by what means can I enhance this teaching achieved by the Supreme Savior through strenuous efforts over countless eons. As I strive in this with pure intention, may Brahma, Indra and the world's guardians and protectors such as Mahakala unswervingly always assist me. Okay. Particularly after having studied emptiness, and if you want to fine-tune your understanding, so this text which we just read, that would be wonderful if you can get a teaching on this first, and then try to read it every day, but reflect on the meanings. So it will make your mind to continue to grow in the experience of the emptiness. Yes. And okay, so with this, before I go further, I'd like to share that we are talking about, okay, oftentimes there's a mention of the nirvana and samsara, these two as one. And some people say that nirvana, the samsara that we live in, this is nirvana. And these two are one. So this is a great misunderstanding, misleading concept. The reality is that we do find very standard texts, like even what Arya Nagarjuna taught in Mula Madhyama Karika. You do find that he mentioned that the nirvana, samsara, these two are the same. But unlike how we understand Heart Sutra, form is empty, emptiness is form. So here form is empty. It doesn't mean that form is empty, it doesn't exist. And we need to know the correct meaning, that the form is empty of objective existence. So this is how we have to understand it. Likewise, what does it mean by the samsara and nirvana as the same? And some people, they say, oh, you look at the samsara and nirvana, they're just the same. Why do you have to look for nirvana somewhere else? Okay, this is a total misconception. We need to know how these two are seen as one. If you know this in its true form, the way as intended by these great teachers, then you'll be fascinated. This is the beauty, strength of the Nalanda tradition. Okay, so let's say what is meant by samsara and nirvana. In the first place, what is samsara, what is nirvana? The example that I give is like let's say Mount Kailash. Mount Kailash, they say that Chanchula and Jugandhar, two of them, decide to take us all to Mount Kailash for a pilgrimage. Right? And two of them, it turns out this is a very sacred mountain, sacred place, and yet because of the snow, the glare from the snow, and it can affect your eyes. So what you do is that we have to buy goggles, right? So there are the shops, goggle shops, glasses, and one which is where it's very low quality goggles, and the other extremely high quality Japanese made, Japan made. Nowadays, Japanese, they don't really make too much, right? Everything is made in China, right? In Japan also, right? So what do you think nowadays? In Germany? Germany, I was really fascinated. Is there anybody from Germany? No one? Here. I was very fascinated. Usually nowadays the clock means if it is connected with the satellite, then it's reliable. Otherwise the manual clocks, what do you call it? Analog clocks, they're not reliable. And the analog, I'm not too happy because after every 1 or 2 months you have to again reset it or adjust it. Once somebody gave me made in Germany, the analog. It's not like a wristwatch, just a small one to put on the table. And the timing was just amazing, so precise. Wow, that's amazing. So earlier I used to say made in Japan. Nowadays I prefer to call made in Germany. It's so precise. I was so amazed. Okay, so let's say the goggles, very, I won't say which country, right? Goggles which are very crude goggles, and made in Germany goggles, right? One extremely crystal clear, and the other one's very murky, not very low quality. Then, to protect you from the glare, snow glare, you have to put on the goggles. So you put on the goggles, group A and group B. You go there, and then the group A is from the what? Very low quality goggles, and group B is the made in Germany goggles, extremely good. Then you go there, and group A says that, okay, then the Chanjubla and the Yugandhar guide us to say Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, right? Ye Dharma mantra. Doing that, and Guru A says, what is this? It's so dirty, Mount Kailash. Right? Very dirty Mount Kailash look, so murky. And of course, it may be very sacred, but it's very dirty look. And Guru B says, wow, it's so spick and span clean. So spotlessly clean, so beautiful. Right? So there's a two contradictory, say, description happening with the same object. You're getting it? So group A looks at it, it's very dirty, right? Dirty Mount Kailash. And then the Ajay Bala, since her childhood, I remember, she used to be very proactive, and she would say, okay, don't worry, let's start a Mount Kailash Clean project. Right? So group A says they decided to start a Mount Kailash Clean project. And group B, what are you doing? You're crazy. It's so clean already, extremely beautiful, clean. Right? It's so clean, you don't need a Mount Kailash Clean project. Okay, so group A is seeing the Mount Kailash is very dirty. Group B is seeing its Mount Kailash is very clean. Who is correct? In other words, say, where lies the difference? Anyone? Anyone? Perception. You're getting it? Perception. Say Mount Kailash as seen by group A as dirty, that is the samsara. You're getting it? Mount Kailash as seen as very clean in the eyes of the group B, that is nirvana. You're getting it? So, is it the same Mount Kailash or different Mount Kailash? Mount Kailash group A is seeing, Mount Kailash group B is seeing. Is it the same or different Mount Kailash? Same Mount Kailash, it's just a matter of how you look at it, how you see that. If you look at it through a dirty lens, you're bound to see that it's dirty. So that is samsara with respect to you. Whereas if you look at it through a clean lens, then you're bound to see this is a clean Mount Kailash. So there's nirvana for you. So this is how nirvana and samsara are seen as one in the eyes of two different references. You're getting it? Two different references. So not that, say it is nirvana, it is samsara, not like this, that it is nirvana with respect to the beings, with the pure, look at things from the pure lens of mind. It's samsara with respect to the beings who are looking at it from a dirty lens of mind. So this is where we see that this is how we understand samsara and nirvana is one, not that it is one with respect to one person. Okay, having said this, we interact with the world through our lens of our mind. You agree with me? Right? Oftentimes, we look at things on the basis of your own judgment, right? Your own superimpositions. What do you think? You try to impose it on as the reality, and you don't see the reality. This is how we project. We superimpose. We project our, the thoughts on the reality. So, in other words, we look at things from our own lens of the mind. And if your lens of mind is very clean, you will see the divine. You see nirvana. If your mind is defiled, you are bound to see things as impure. Right? Okay. So, what is our mind? Defiled or not defiled? Defiled with? Defiled with? Defiled with? Defiled with? Okay. So we need to bring in the technicalities. So don't just say defiled with afflictions. Yes, it's correct, but it's only very partial. It's not comprehensive. Defiled with afflictive obscurations and the cognitive obscurations. Then it becomes very comprehensive. You're getting it? Okay. With the murky goggles, you are bound to see the Mount Kailash as dirty. You agree?
Yes.
Okay. Likewise, with a murky mind with the mental defilements, you are bound to see things as imperfect. You're getting it? That is samsara. Okay. So, as you remove the mental dirt, then your mind becomes more and more clean. When you look at things from this pure lens of the mind, very clean lens of mind, you will see things as divine. That is the time when you experience nirvana, and the clean form of the things that are seen by your mind, that is Buddhahood. So this is where this advice that you are not to look for Buddhahood elsewhere. No, there's nobody there who bestows upon you the Buddhahood, nor somebody holds the cause of the Buddhahood for you. It is you, through discovering your own true nature of the mind, that you attain your Buddhahood. Okay. So with this, okay, so now continuation from where we left this morning, the four essentials. So let me repeat it. But by the way, your job, what are the four essentials? Essential of identifying object negation. What is number two? Essential of understanding the emptiness of the objects being intrinsically one with its parts. Number three? Essential of understanding the emptiness of the objects being intrinsically different from its parts. Number four? Okay, number four, is there anybody who can say this by heart? Number four? Anybody who can say this by heart? No? It doesn't matter. What's number four? Okay, Raviji? Yes.
Which is understanding the progression understanding the progression that understanding the progression of the intrinsic oneness and
Okay.
understanding the progression of the emptiness of intrinsic oneness and the intrinsic differentness against the emptiness of objective existence of the object.
Wonderful. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, yes, over there. Yes.
So actually, we say that the Buddha energy is all pervasive. Is it like you can correct? Like I don't know for sure. So Buddha energy is all pervasive.
Who said it?
Sorry.
Buddha energy.
Is all pervasive.
Who said it?
I
I said it? Or you heard it before? You heard it from me? No. Okay. So what I would say, only if you're convinced, you can repeat, you can cite. If you're not convinced, never ever cite somebody, right? It can be a really distorted information. There's nothing known as Buddha energy. You're getting it? At the most, there's no Buddha nature, right? Seed of perfection. And these you must be convinced. Not that somebody tells you something and then you believe in it. No, right? You can, don't reject it, don't accept it. Simply keep it with you and subject to analysis. If possible, ask the person who said it, ask the person, what do you mean by this? Till you are convinced, you keep asking questions. Only when you're convinced, then you can say, you can quote, you can cite, you can paraphrase. And then if the person says, what is this? You are very confident what you are talking. Right? So
stated that Chitta neva hi sansaraka. So Chitta is like the mind, and mind itself is the sansar. So that is a similar idea which we discussed in the project a lot. It also stated that the mind or the world is a creation of the mind. So it's a similar idea. That's what we.
okay, so what I would suggest is that don't mix up the ideas. For the time being, whatever you learned before, don't mix them. You're getting it? Oh, these two are similar, these two are similar. Don't draw parallels for the time being. First, you must learn these systems thoroughly and keep them very clean separately. Separately, right? And once you are very confident that you know A, that you know B, you can mix. And then somebody asks you questions, right? How they are similar, you are very confident. Till that point, don't mix up the systems. This will make you go into confusion. You're getting it? Okay. So in fact, the mind per se is not samsara. You're getting it? Mind is not samsara. Mind, with the impure mind, then the samsara is created. With the pure mind, you experience the true nature, that is the nirvana and Buddhahood. Mind per se, don't say that mind is samsara. No, because the Buddha's mind is so pure, it's not samsara. Right? Okay, good. Now what we do is that we're going to include this, the four essentials, in the form of meditation. You're getting it? In the form of meditation. And the four essentials in the form of meditation. And then later on, we're also going to learn the 5 points. How to put the meditation emptiness in simple terms, in a simple, with the simple steps, 5 simple steps on the meditation emptiness. But don't feel complacent. Okay, now I got how to meditate emptiness. It can be extremely gross for somebody who's not so much exposed to the state of emptiness. But for those who are extensively exposed to emptiness, for them these 5 steps, they are so rich. Okay, so sit upright. So while I say it's going to be like more like a guided meditation, when I do this, don't try to correlate what I'm saying with what you've heard before, what you've heard from somebody else, what you've read from somebody else. Don't try to correlate these things. Try to just see if you understand what I am saying. You're getting it? You can correlate, not now, later on. You're getting it? Particularly what I would say is that what is coming from very authentic sources, you can try to correlate. But if there are different traditions, don't try to correlate. If there are different traditions, keep them separate and clean. You don't have to reject any of the system. You don't have to reject any of the tradition. Just study very thoroughly, and then later on, when you're really good at, when you really become good at these traditions, then see if you can draw parallels, or you see that they are very different. Okay, so okay, how many of you, when you meditate, you feel say some pain at the back, resistance? Okay. Okay. So if you are to meditate like emptiness meditation, single point meditation, and so forth, and particularly if you sit for retreat, like spending more time, like 6, 7, 8 hours in meditation, then what we suggest is that you need to learn a little bit of physical exercises to keep your body to stay away from physical pains, particularly back pain. Sitting upright for a long time, the back pain is going to be very severe, and then it can really disrupt your timetable and you cannot do anything. Okay, for that matter, what we do is that extend your 2 hands out and the 2 thumbs inside, and wrap the 2 thumbs with the fingers, put upside down, and straight on your knees. Straight on your knees. Okay. Later on, you don't have to do like this. You know, these are just to show you the steps, right? So you can directly do with like the fist with the 2 thumbs inside, and directly start from there. Body upright, and your 2 arms straight. Okay. 2 arms straight. Okay. And now they pull the 2 fists through your knees, legs, ribs, and then when it comes to the level of the armpit, you throw this in front. Don't do forcefully, just gently, and then throw the 2 fists to your left, like this, to your left. Good. And so, okay, do it again, where the right fist should hit the left armpit, like this. Okay, let's do it again. Pull from the knee, the legs, the ribs. Okay, throw in front. Don't do too forcefully. If you do forcefully, in 2-3 days time, you will have the arm pains. Okay, then to your left side. Then release the forefinger, the first finger. Release the first finger, and with the hind side of the first finger, block your right nostril. Block right nostril, and take a deep breath. Then put your hand on your left knee and breathe out. Again. Three times. Good. Okay, put down. Again, same pull through your knees, legs, ribs in the front. Now to your right side. Just we did earlier, let go of the first finger. With the hind side of the finger, block your left nostril and take 3 deep breaths. Okay, good. Again, pull. Now put it down on your 2 knees. Breathe through both nostrils. Okay, this is known as the 9-round breathing exercise. Next, Okay, so this is for the breathing, to ease the breathing. Next step, to avoid the back pain. For this, with your two palms, hold your knees, two knees, okay, and your two arms straight. First, just bend your left arm like this, and the right arm straight, and the right shoulder, let it come out. Okay, like this. Right shoulder, let it come out, and then try to move this right shoulder to your left knee as much as possible, 3 times. 1. So the right arm must be straight. Make sure the right arm is straight. Left arm is bent. 2, 3. So make sure that you should feel that your back is stretched. Okay. Now the same thing again with you. Now you do the opposite on the opposite side. The right arm bent, left arm straight, and then the left shoulder come out like this. Shoulder come out, and then left shoulder and your right knee. You try to touch. If you cannot touch, don't worry. Just bring it closer. 1, 2, 3, right? Do you feel that your back is being stretched? If you feel back, it is very, very therapeutic. It's very healing. Particularly a backache problem due to prolonged sitting, this will really remove the pain right away, right? Well, let's do it again. With the right shoulder to the left knee first. Ready? 1. And you also put down your head so that your body will be stretched the maximum. 1, 2, 3. Now the other side, left shoulder, take it out. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Again, right shoulder. 1, 2, 3. Left shoulder. 1, 2, 3. Okay, do you feel the stretch? That your back is stretched? This is very healing, right? Okay. So why I did it is partially for my personal interest. Because of my long sitting like this, and you can move, go around, go out, right? I've been sitting like this for hours and hours and hours, and I could feel the pain today. And now the pain is gone. Okay, this is very helpful, particularly when you do a long sitting with your backbone upright. One time there's one lady, she sent me a message saying that, Geshe, what now, the world is too gloomy, the world is too dark, nothing is good around. On the phone, please say some prayers. And then some way in a conversation, she said that I also have a backache. Then I realized, okay, that's easy. The world is not gloomy. The backache is giving her the impression the world is gloomy. So I sent this video recording of my exercise. And she said, in 2 days' time, she sent me a message, reply saying that I did it and now the world is perfect. Yeah, and there was another, one of my cousins, his daughter in America, she again sent me a message saying that with the COVID, always sitting with the laptop, sitting, she has back pain, and she was crying. The pain is so bad, she could not do anything. So again, I sent this video recording, of the exercise. And again today, she sent me a reply saying that now it's gone. Now not only is gone, she also teaches others how to do this. Yeah. Okay, good. So with this, now the meditation on emptiness, the essentials. Okay. And some of us may feel that the meditation on emptiness is a little technical. It is not technical, or I would say, it is not too difficult. Only thing is that it's a matter of whether or not you are used to this. When you're not used to this, you may think it's very difficult. It is not. So what we suggest is that those who are, particularly you are new to my style of teaching and so forth, if you find it little difficult to follow, believe it or not, just try to listen to it twice, 3 times. Gradually it becomes very easy for you. You're getting it? So it's just not difficult. Never underestimate yourself. Never underestimate yourself. Believe it, at least give yourself a chance to revisit these teachings, these instructions 2 times, 3 times, and you'll be perfectly all right. Okay, ready? Okay, today we'll meditate on the emptiness of the flower. Emptiness of the flower. And tomorrow we'll try to meditate on emptiness of the self, the person, on the basis of the teaching given by the Buddha himself and the teaching given by Arjuna. Okay. Okay. Young Bella would mind going out to catch this gentleman there, to invite him to get in. He will be seeing me after a few minutes. Do you see him? That side. We'll wait for you. Yes.
Krishna, you had asked us to remind you about the Heart Sutra mantra to kind of explain that.
Yes.
Have we already covered that? Or do you
Not covered. We'll cover. We'll cover. Not covered. So yes, this retreat is a little short because that's the we have the Mahabodhi temple visit, and then the tomorrow's the whole day program. Okay, we'll do that. Yeah, but remind me. Good. Okay. The permissible usage to it. Okay, here. Okay, so now we will okay. What I'm saying is that the 4 essentials, meditation, emptiness. It may sound a little technical, but don't worry. If possible, we should have a sense of patience, sense of resilience, and sense of enthusiasm to revisit the meditation instruction twice, 3 times, 4 times, and for those of us who could follow this and to go for more extensive studies on emptiness. Okay, good? Okay. So today we're going to meditate on the emptiness of flower. First of all, we'll recite this refuge in bodhicitta, because the purpose of meditation should be to attain fearlessness, which is nirvana, and infinite happiness, Buddhahood, for yourself and for all the Dhamma sentient beings, so that the motivation is not the distorted. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations through practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations through practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations through practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Okay, just think of a beautiful rose flower in front of you, freshly blossoming rose flower. And how does this flower appear to you? Out of the four essentials, the first essential of understanding the object of negation. So how does this flower appear to you? Like a movie being projected by your mind, projector, or it appears so objectively independent and real there? Of course, it appears so independent, object, real there. This is the self-grasping ignorance, and the object as apprehended by this self-grasping ignorance is the object of negation, of emptiness, of the self. Okay, so this suffices the first essential of understanding the object of negation. What is to be negated is the self, as seen to be objectively real, so solidly there from the object side. This is to be negated, and this is referred to as the object of negation, of emptiness. How do we know that this objectively real self does not exist? How do we know that? Okay, remember what Aranyagārjuna said. If the mirage were to be water, why not those close by the mirage see water? In a similar token of reasoning, if this self, to be identified as I, would exist objectively, why don't I see this self as I go closer to this object? Now, let us go closer to this object, which is technically referred to as subjecting this self to ultimate analysis. Subjecting the self to ultimate analysis, we are supposed to meditate on the emptiness of flower. Okay, so this flower appears so objectively real. So the objectively real flower, objectively existent flower, this is to identify as object negation, to be negated in order to understand the emptiness of the flower. Okay, so that flower appears so objectively real, that is to be negated. Objectively existent flower to be negated. How to negate it? Remember what Aranyagārjuna said, if the mirage were to be water, why not those close by the mirage see water? In a similar token of reasoning, if this flower in front of me would exist objectively, why don't I see this flower as I go closer to its object? Okay, now let us go closer to this object, towards this flower. Technically, this is known as subjecting the flower to ultimate analysis. Okay. Subjecting the flower to ultimate analysis, we go closer towards the flower, and the way and the manner in which we see the flower through electron microscope, you will see initially you see the partitions of the cells in the form of the crack. Although initially the flower looked as so fresh, tender, perfect in texture and so forth, but now through electron microscope, subjecting to ultimate analysis, we see it's just like it's no more tender and with the perfect texture. It's just like the dry clay with the cracks in between. These cracks are nothing but the divisions of the cells. And through further fine-tuning this electron microscope, you see that you could see distinctly, you can see the nucleus of the cells. And through further fine-tuning electron microscope, you will see the chromosomes. And the chromosomes, they are like the striped, brownish striped, these snake-like structures. Okay, through further fine-tuning this, the electron microscope, you see even these chromosomes are made of DNA molecules. And the DNA molecules are made of atoms. And the atoms are made of electrons, protons, neutrons. Okay, you can go further. Just stay there for today. Here for this meditation, just stay there. Okay, what are you seeing now? You have subjected this flower to ultimate analysis, and now you end up seeing just a pool of electrons, protons, neutrons. Okay. And why we subjected this flower to ultimate analysis is to look for the objectively existent flower. So now we've come too close to the object, we should be able to see the flower if it does exist there objectively. And to our surprise, we end up seeing a pool of electrons, protons, neutrons. Okay, tell me, which of the electrons, protons, neutrons, which are nothing but the parts of the flower, which of these is the flower? None. The flower is very beautiful. None of these electrons, protons, neutrons is beautiful. So none of these is the flower. So if you understand this, yes, that's true. None of these is the flower. These are empty of being the flower. These atoms or the electrons or protons, these are empty of being the flower. If you understood this, you've understood the second essential. The essential understanding of the emptiness of the objects being intrinsically one. Intrinsic meaning from the object, the parts are not to be, are seen as empty of being one with the flower. The flower is not the parts, the atoms or the electrons, protons. If you're convinced of this, you've understood the second essential. Okay, yes, I'm convinced. Now, if the flower, now there are only two options for the flower to exist objectively. One is that the parts, electrons, protons, neutrons should be the flower. That's ruled out. Now the second option is to remove these electrons, protons, neutrons to see if the flower exists as intrinsically different from the parts. So remove all the parts to see if it exists as intrinsically different from the parts. Remove the electrons, protons, neutrons. What is left? Nothing is left there. Okay, if you're convinced with this, you have understood the third essential. Essential of understanding the emptiness of the objects being intrinsically different from its parts. You've understood this. That removing the electrons, there's nothing left there. There's nothing to be seen as a flower there. Still, all these observations are happening in the eyes of the ultimate analysis. Okay, so these two possibilities being ruled out, where is the flower from the object? From the object, in the eyes of the ultimate analysis, nowhere do we find the flower is existing. Flower simply dissolves. Stay in this experience for a while. And this is not what I'm inventing. This is what I'm discovering. And this is reality which existed since time immemorial. The only thing is that I'm discovering it now. I'm being deceived by the self-grasping ignorance, making me believe that things, the flower, the self, everything is objectively real. Today I'm disillusioned by that. Stay in this experience with emptiness, that the flower disappears in the eyes of the ultimate analysis. Stay in this experience for a while. Okay. So now imagine that you come out of this meditation. Again the flower comes back. Again go back to the meditation. The flower disappears. Again they come out. The flower comes back. Constantly there is some change happening. The flower disappears and as the ultimate analysis. And as the conventional analysis, the flower appears. But object-wise there is no difference. But to the perception keeps changing. Whatever is involved as a change in the perception, this is purely subjective, because perception is purely subjective. So anything which is a part of this change should be the subjective. So this self which appears and disappears is a part of this change. Although on the object there is no change, but something is constantly changing where it involves the self. This flower also, this flower, it comes, it appears, it disappears, it appears. The moment your mind shifts to the ultimate analysis, it disappears. The moment it comes back to the conventional analysis, again the flower comes back. There's constant appearance, disappearance. But on the object side, there's no change at all. So all the changes happening is purely on the perception level, which is purely subjective. So the flower is a part of this. So therefore the flower is subject real. From the object, it's 100% that is empty. So what appears is the mere appearance. The mere appearance is known as illusion-like. It's known as illusion-like emptiness. Okay, now going back to ultimate analysis, where is this flower? This flower is totally empty. Stay in this experience for a while. Okay, good. Slowly come out of the meditation. Come out, come out. Okay, before we stop, I'd like to quickly share with you the 5 steps. The 5 steps which I compiled. Don't think that must be some book on the 5 steps. These are what I compiled for the ease of the people to meditate emptiness, for those people who are not exposed to emptiness extensively. So this would be very helpful for us. The 5 steps to meditate emptiness. Okay. The first step. Okay, just write these steps, and then we'll quickly discuss on this. The first one is self. Number 1 is self. You just write 5 steps to meditate emptiness. 5 steps to meditate emptiness. First, the self. Number 2, 6 elements. Number 3, 2 questions. Number 3, 2 questions. Number 4, space-like, okay, meditative equipoise of the space-like emptiness. Meditative equipoise of the space-like emptiness. Number 5, the post-meditative state of illusion-like emptiness. Number 1, self. Number 2, 6 elements. Number 3, meditative state or meditative equipoise. Meditative state or meditative equipoise. Meditative equipoise of the space-like emptiness. Then number 5, post-meditative state of illusion-like emptiness. Okay, I'm going to explain how to use this. First one, the self. When I say self, it is in lieu of identifying the object of negation. You just think of the self. And this can be replaced by anything else. It can be replaced with anything else. Like instead of self, the flower, your friend, your mother, your husband, your wife, your children, or house, whatever. You can change it. It's just an example. The self, you think of the self and see how this self appears. Is objectively real or is subjectively real? And of course, objectively real. So this is in lieu of identifying the object of negation, number 1. What's next? Number 2, 6 elements. Okay. Now, they say the subject self to ultimate analysis, and you see that it's just the 6 elements. You're getting it? 6 elements, which are the parts of the self. 6 elements: element earth, water, fire, air, space, consciousness. That's 6 elements. So here the consciousness means your mind. Your mind. Okay, the 6. You identify with the ultimate analysis, we end up seeing these 6 elements. What is next? 2 questions. First question, what are you seeing? What are you seeing? I'm seeing just the 6 elements. This is the answer. What are you seeing? I'm just seeing the 6 elements. First question. Question number 2. Second question is, where is the self? Where is the self in the eyes of the ultimate analysis? Where is the self in the eyes of ultimate analysis? So here, when you say, what are you seeing? I'm just seeing 6 elements. Then the second question, where is the self? With the elements or different from the elements? Right? Empty of being one with the parts, empty of being different from the parts. These two come here. Where's the self? You have to think of this, that the self is empty of being one with the parts, is neither the parts, no different from parts, is to be identified as the self. Okay. Then what happens? As you experience, the self is empty. In our ultimate analysis, the self is empty. This is the answer to the second question. Self is empty. Okay. So step number 4, abide in this experience, emptiness. Abide in this experience of the emptiness. Abide in this experience. So that is step number 4, which is meditative equipoise of the space-like emptiness. Space-like meaning that the self dissolves like a space. There's nothing to be hold on. To hold on to say that this is self, it dissolves like a space. Just stay in this experience. Then to fine-tune this experience, what Raviji asked about the not affirming, non-affirming, negative, positive, negative phenomena. This is what we have to discuss in the next class. Right? Okay. So then from this, you are very sure that in the meditation, in the ultimate analysis, you say from the object there is no self. The self is empty. From the object, that's 100% sure. Then you come out of the meditation, post-meditation. That is, you come out of the meditation. You come out of the meditation, which means that your mind is moving from the ultimate analysis to the conventional analysis. In the eyes of conventional analysis, the self exists. Self appears. So that appearance is like your experience is a combination of two things. From the object is empty, you experience that. From the subject, it appears. So it is like illusion. Illusion is, what is illusion? Illusion is when, for example, how do you describe something as illusion? It's not really there, but it still appears.
Magic.
It's like magic, right? It's not really there, but it appears as something. Okay, how do you distinguish between what is the illusory flower and the real flower? Right, magically conjured flower, which is illusion flower and real flower. How do you make this distinction? Anyone? Very quick. Yes.
One is substantial, the other not.
One is substantial, other is not. Anybody else? Hey? One is subjective and the other one is objective. Okay, so one is from the object, the real one, and the other one is subjective. So we see that the subjective meaning empty from the object. Empty from object, still to subject it appears. Right? So you, in your experience, you see that the self is empty from the object. In the eyes of the ultimate analysis, in the eyes of conventional analysis, it appears, that is subjective. Empty of object, from the object is empty, but from the subject it appears. So therefore it is like illusion. You're getting it? So this awareness must be maintained. Maintaining this awareness, then you advise by Lama Tsongkhapa advised us that with this awareness, try to maintain this awareness that everything is like illusion. From the object is empty, from the subject it continues to appear. So with this awareness, then you engage in all your virtues like making frustrations, meditation, bodhicitta practice, generosity, any practice that you do, we do that in the spirit of this awareness of the illusion-like nature of all phenomena. Okay, we stop here. Deyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswatyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswatyata bodhiswatyata om gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhiswatyata